The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
The apostles gathered together with Jesus and reported all that they had done and taught. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." People were coming and going in great numbers, and they had no opportunity even to eat. And so they went off in the boat by themselves to a deserted place. People saw them leaving, and many came to know about it. And they hastened there on foot from all the towns and arrived at the place before them. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So I want everyone to know that when Unbound was here about 5 years ago, you heard about some good things that they were doing. And in that time, no matter how much the whole world has changed because of the health situation, Unbound has continued to do just those very things. Made adjustments, found even ways to help those they were already helping in terms of the pandemic, but we've kept to our mission and our vision. So I want to just kind of bring up to date where we have been and that we are still focused singularly on doing something to make life a better life for those who are suffering terrible poverty. So at the beginning, as I said at Mass, we're going to remind everybody that Unbound is a sponsorship organization founded over 40 years ago by Catholic laymen and women who, on their return from doing some mission work in Central America, somehow felt convinced that they could do more to help the poor. That simple insight has guided them from that point even until now. Grace has been there along the way, and they have grown in their appreciation of the goodness of their call, but also in their ability to do that work even better. So now I want to let you know that, first of all, that Unbound is a good organization, that we can be trusted. Sad to have to say that in this day and age, but we need to say it, and you need to hear me talk about it. So Unbound is trustworthy. Those who check into so-called charitable organizations who promise to do good things for a noble cause that they describe often are found out to be not telling the truth. And people are hurt by that. And those who want to do good are also really concerned no one wants to be taken advantage of. And so we especially welcome those people who check into our claims to be doing the work that we do. People like Charity Navigator and Charity Watch. And the Better Business Bureau also has a kind of subdivision that looks into encouraging people to give to organizations that can be trusted. And Unbound reaches the highest marks in all of those things. So we can be trustworthy. Since Unbound is going to be asking for people to step up to become sponsors, it's a serious financial commitment. The current cost of sponsorship is $40 a month. And so for all of us, in one way or another, whether we have plenty that we have and don't have to worry, some of us have means enough but don't have a good enough reason. I want to maybe give you some reasons for that. And some of us going through that process of, do I have $40 a month? You know, the correct answer is no, we don't. And we don't want anybody to become a sponsor out of feeling of guilt or anything like that. But I'm confident that there are people listening tonight who fit into that category of saying, yes, we need to do this kind of thing because we can easily afford it and it's the right thing to do. And even some others are saying, you know, it's going to be a sacrifice, but it's worth the sacrifice. And all of us, I think, will be able to say prayers of petition to the Lord that Unbound's work will continue to move forward. And so realizing that we are asking people to donate their hard-earned resources, Unbound is especially careful to use every bit of the funds that are collected through these invitations in the churches to make sure it gets to the people that we are sponsoring, the people that we are sponsoring, and also the community that supports them. I think on our current folders, on the back, you say, let's see, it says, not there, it says somewhere, I'm sure, that currently 92.6% of all of the funds that we gather, 92.6% go directly to the person that we are helping and that community that supports them. That's quite a good record. We do it not because we want to show off business acumen, but because we want to respect the faith and sacrifice of those who will be sponsors. Right before the pandemic, it was 93.1%. We're going to get we're going to get that nickel back. You watch, and we're going to work hard for it because it's the poor who are our stakeholders. We want to do as much as we can to really help them as much as we can. So Unbound had, over the first beginning period, has expanded its work to several parts of the world. We began in Central America, continue to be there. We now work as well in some countries in South America, also in Mexico, in the Philippines, and in India. And now we're working, I think, in 5 countries in Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, the island of Madagascar, and fairly recently, beginning in 2020, in Rwanda. So we're continuing to do the best work we can and do our due diligence before we try to go into a situation to make sure that it can be successful. So this day, this month, this time, even as I'm asking for some to say yes for the first time to this work, that Unbound helps on a monthly basis. We have sponsored not just children, but elderly as well, over 305,000 individuals. So that means that they are being supported by a like number of faithful Catholics in this country. So that I think we have about 275,000 sponsors because many sponsor more than one. So they have somehow said yes to the invitation. They have gone beyond the worry about maybe I'll be taken advantage of, that kind of thing. And currently, so I share that because that should be a good encouragement for us as we're thinking about it, to say, I'm not going to be the first one who takes this chance. And in addition to that, and I think, although it's not in our headlines, I think it's one of the strongest endorsements for Unbound sponsorship model is that once people become sponsors, often, Father, how long do I have to do this? Would a year be enough? That kind of thing. Not really appreciating what it's all about. And we have sponsors who are for many, many years. Last week I was actually in my home parish in Ohio, and one of our sponsors who helped at our tables was sponsoring now for 25 years. And a couple of weeks earlier in another place in Michigan, 23 years. What that's saying is that after a while, people realize that it is good for us to somehow be involved in that kind of relationship. It is good for our souls as well. So that's what I want to talk about today, that kind of unseen value that keeps sponsors wanting to do that, and also the power of this model that Unbound has used, the one-on-one relationship, and also the relationship that's found in sponsorship itself. But all of those things would not be as successful as they are unless Unbound was founded firmly on the Catholic social teaching of the Church, especially formulated by Leo XIII over 100 years ago, 130 by now, in which because of economic situations of the time, in which we began to say clearly that every person has dignity in God's eyes, has value in God's eyes, is important in God's eyes. It doesn't matter where you live, what you look like, how much you have or don't have. Everyone deserves that kind of respect. And I think it's apparent that for those who are desperately poor, they are the ones who are most vulnerable to have even the little they have extracted from them. They're the ones who are most at risk. And they hear the message day by day by day. You have so little, you must be about worth that much. And we do that. There's that thing that goes on that says, we value our self-esteem is deserved from how much material possessions we have. Our faith tells us we got to be moving in the other direction. But we can say that as often as we want, but that message is there, and many hear it day by day by day by day. And after a while, maybe they say, there's a reason I'm so poor. Maybe it's because I'm worthless. And Unbound, as much as the difference that we make in their lives, material and financially, as much as that, Unbound wants to recapture that dignity that is so often just on the verge of completely giving up. Again, it's really the main reason why we do that work that we do. And I can witness to this, that in every interaction that I've seen with Unbound and all the materials that we get in a constant way and the experiences that we have, I have seen Unbound workers, no matter what their position is, keep true. As they are looking to the eyes of another person, they are saying, maybe we're helping you, but we value you. You are important. You have perhaps gifts you haven't yet been able to understand. In everyone, respect and dignity. Unfortunately, today, that message seems to be becoming dimmer and dimmer as we hear people shout at each other all the time about telling how things are judged because of so many outside things. Unbound is true to that social teaching of the Church. So I want to tell you two examples about the power of sponsorship today. And also, though, we need to say just a word about our scriptures, because the scriptures become our weekly inspiration on Unbound being so in touch with the heart of it all. And so obviously today, that's why I had to make sure I relocated the gospel reading. The powerful message there that Jesus said, there's a couple of things going on there. First of all, he said, you worked hard, but you need to rest. You need to rest not just so that your body can recover, but that you can realize what has happened, that you have been instruments of God's grace and mercy, and how it is that when God works through us, good things happen, and we need to rest. But then, when we see that Jesus saw how many people were flocking to the good work of the disciples, he looked upon them with pity and said they were like sheep without a shepherd. I'm sure that when we read the gospel, it's made in a broader context where we find that that applies to all of us. There are times when we are rudderless, pointless, we don't know where we're going, and we know how unfulfilling that kind of thing is. And we know it's important that we have Jesus as the one who calls our name, and we understand he knows it, and we recognize his voice, who also guides us and leads us. You know, the song about the Good Shepherd that we had is also so very important. But also in an even deeper way, they were like sheep without a shepherd applies to many of our friends that we're bringing today who need to have some help. Some need to have financial help. They need to have someone who says, you know, we care. We want to change your situation. And really, those Unbound communities that give them the organization and the unity and the direction that Jesus was pleading for today as well. So I do some work in Kenya. I've been retired for a number of years, and that work brings me to a small school in Kenya. I mentioned earlier that Kenya is one of the places where Unbound is represented. I always look forward to my trips because it gives me a chance to see my friends who are working in Unbound in Kenya. Again, as I said earlier, they lift me up. They challenge me to do even more with a purer heart. And on this one occasion, they gave me the chance to visit with an older fellow named Peter, who could no longer work and lived in one of the many slums in Nairobi called Kibera. It wouldn't have been safe for me to be there all by myself. So I was with my Unbound friends and we visited Peter. He was overjoyed that we were there. During the course of this conversation, he said this to me, and this is the point. He said, if it were not for Unbound, I think by now I would be dead. We know we make a difference. I don't think we can appreciate how much of a difference that we make. And Peter said it so well, but he didn't say it all. He said in that very succinct way, if it were not for Unbound, I think by now I would be dead. But listen to what Peter was saying. There was a time when a faithful person was in church and they saw my picture in a folder, and somehow, stranger though I was, they said, I think I need to help that gentleman. And it was because of that difference was made. And one of the many responsibilities of being sponsored is that they have to write letters. And so we hear from them 3-4 times a year. Every year with the kids, we get an updated picture. But I'm sure that Peter, on the times when he was writing his sponsor, was able to hear that, to say that over and over again. You're a life changer for me. Thank you so much for caring for me. And you are in my prayers as well. So That's what happens in that dynamism of sponsorship and sponsor. We become friends. And there is much that they share with us that helps us to grow as well. Surely that's one of the reasons why people continue to be sponsors. So we benefit as well. The second short story is about appreciation. Unbound, if we're going to be speaking for them, wants us to know what we're talking about. So periodically, we have to make a visit to one of these countries so that we can know firsthand exactly what we're talking about. And so several years back, I was with a group of 6 or 7 or 8 other priests, and we were in El Salvador, and during that week, our eyes were open to many things, but there were many meetings. And one of those meetings, there was a young lady, she had to be in her 20s, who was in one of our group meetings, and she was holding her little boy in her arms and thanking us through tears that she had a sponsor over and over again. Lots of tears. And what she was also saying, that again, it needs to be unpacked just a little bit. When we look at the children, we see, like I have Tatiana, she's decided to have her picture taken with the goat today. I don't know why, but there she is. She doesn't look happy about it. But nevertheless, we look at the children, we see them, and we love the children. And so there is that desire that we want to help that little one. But this is what we're really doing. We are helping, hear this, we are helping the parents, the guardians of that child, to love their children in the way that they need to love them. And except for one factor, that systemic poverty in these places, they have the same desires that we do. And we can help change that a little bit so that they can love their kids, make sure they get to school, take care of their needs, protect them well, with that little bit of reliable and over a long period of time help. And then another offshoot of that is the children then learn to look up to their parents even more. My parent, my mom, my dad, my guardian, or whoever's there for them, they're taking care of us, and they become proud of their parents or the one who's taking care of them. Those are all kinds of offshoots of the good work of sponsorship itself. And finally, this young lady said, and I promise you, again, tears continuing to flow, and I promise you, we will not let you down. So they know very clearly that this is the only chance that they're really going to have. And they are not going to take advantage of that. They are going to see this as a one-time, in a lifetime grace for good, and they're going to do the very best that we can with it. And so those are reasons why we should pray about, maybe it's okay for me to become a sponsor. So today, this is beautiful church, by the way. In the very nice gathering space, we have 2 tables. And you'll see the picture of a child. It's unusual today that this is the first time in my memory that I can remember that we have no elders. I don't know what happened, but we usually have elders. Last week we had a 90-year-old lady who found a 90-year-old friend who was my friend. I knew what was going to happen when she saw that picture. But we don't have any of the elders today with us. I'm sorry about that. But at the tables, you'll see children on the table with the African-looking cover. We have children from Africa and some children from Mexico. On the other side, we have children from Central and South America. That might help the process a little bit. But at any rate, inside you'll see particulars about their life. And what's so important is you see the page where it describes their living conditions. And then you won't have any doubt. Tatiana, there are 7 people living in Tatiana's family home. The walls of the home are constructed of brick. The roof is made of metal sheets, and the floor is concrete. It has electricity, and they use gas and firewood for cooking. They draw water from a community well. She sleeps on a shared metal bed with mattress and blankets. Now, Tatiana's situation is like, wow, that's pretty good, and it goes from country to country. But what Tatiana did not have, they did not have their own water, they did not have their own bathroom, and I've never seen one. And we just imagine life like that. So it's not like they have to, we know that their situation is difficult. And there are ways that can help, we can help them to do that. So let's pray for our own hearts. We'll pray for the work of Unbound, and at the end of Mass, if we get to that particular point, we'll show you the way to continue and fill out the rest of that sponsorship form. And also there will be some friends of ours who themselves are sponsored, and you can ask them about their experience and whether or not sponsorship is a good thing for them. Okay, thank you so much.